Hello all you lovers of everything Kaiju, this is Dylan of the Kaiju Vault here to tell you everything Tokusatsu. Ladies and gentlemen, I have just stared into the face of God, and his name is Shin Gojira. Where the hell do I even begin with this movie? I know, probably with a spoilers warning, so anyone who hasn't seen the film and wants to be surprised, tune out now because trust me, you will be surprised. Also forewarning, I'm going to be going over the entire synopsis, so last warning to anyone who doesn't want any spoilers. On to the story! The film begins with the Japanese Coast Guard investigating an abandoned yacht in the Tokyo Bay, when suddenly something in the water attacks their boat. Shortly after that, the Tokyo Bay Aqua Line is flooded, and you get a point of view shot from the two people in their car of what appears to be blood seeping out of the ceiling. After seeing a viral video showing what appears to be a giant tail moving about the area, Japan's Deputy Chief Cabinet Security Rando Yaguchi believes it to belong to an enormous organism. Naturally it's taken as a joke, but naturally it's confirmed to be true eventually. Eventually Form A Goji makes landfall, and Christ he is disgusting. He literally pushes himself around using his hind legs and wobbles about in a really unsettling manner, all the while spewing gore from his gills. The original film score in all its glory is playing out as well. He eventually freezes, kinda out of nowhere, only to suddenly adapt to land locomotion by standing on his two hind legs upright, as well as growing two small little cutesy T-Rex arms. He is now Form B. While continuing his path of destruction, several helicopters are prepared to fire on him, when they are suddenly told to hold their fire as there are still civilians in the area. Godzilla then goes back to the ocean, and honestly I kinda wish that they actually showed him submerging and maybe swimming around a little, but I'll live. Top government officials are focusing on military strategy and safety, while Yaguchi is put in charge of the task force to research the creature. The US envoy Kyoko and Patterson theorizes that it keeps itself energized through nuclear fission, because for a creature of Godzilla's size to even exist, the amount of energy it takes would not make sense. I personally love that. They attempted to make Godzilla somewhat realistic. Anyway, she also reveals that the owner of the earlier mentioned yacht was a shamed zoology professor named Goro Maki. Goro had been studying mutations caused by nuclear contamination and already theorized the creature's existence, but the US covered it up. He left his investigation in his yacht shortly before killing himself. From the research Maki had come up with, the name for the beast is aptly named Godzilla, due to a deity of destruction from the Odo Island natives. A wonderful nod to the original film, I think. Eventually Godzilla makes landfall again, now being twice as large as previously seen, and is en route to Tokyo. The Japanese Defense Force is mobilized, but their attacks do quite literally nothing. And I do mean literally nothing. Their bullets literally bounce right off Godzilla, as do their missiles. The missiles even make a metallic clanging sound before blowing up. Bombers from the US drop bunker busters on Godzilla, which actually works. It makes Godzilla visibly bleed, which very clearly only pisses him off. Godzilla responds by shooting what looks like gas from his mouth, which he then proceeds to shoot literal fire from his mouth, which then ignites the gas, causing Tokyo to go up in flames. And, by the way, I do mean all of Tokyo. He then focuses the fire into a beautiful laser of purple destruction at the bombers, as well as shoot them from his back to destroy the oncoming missiles. Godzilla then more or less goes to sleep, having used up all his energy. Yaguchi's team then discovers that Godzilla's fins are something of a cooling system, and they theorize a coagulant of sorts could have a reaction in Godzilla that quite literally freezes him. Furthermore, they discover upon analyzing some tissue samples that Godzilla can reproduce asexually as long as there is air and water. Curses, 98zilla! I thought I was done with your Jay Leno chin! Ah, but fear not. This actually makes sense this time around, as Godzilla is constantly evolving, more or less. Moving on. The UN is unaware of that weakness, and tells Japan that they will use nuclear weaponry on Godzilla. Patterson can't stand for the idea of Japan being nuked again, as her grandmother lived through the horrors firsthand, so she uses her connections to buy Japan some more time. This allows Yaguchi's team to create enough coagulant to enact their plan. They provoke Godzilla to use his atomic breath by shooting missiles at him, hoping he will run out of energy very quickly this time around. Godzilla, being the ever-agreeable chap he is, shoots his atomic breath from his mouth, then his back, and finally his tail, which looks epic, I might add. They even drop a building on Godzilla, and once they drop this building on him, they begin to apply coagulant into his mouth via trucks. They then send trains with bombs in them to cause him to trip, where they then apply the coagulant down his mouth, and Godzilla attempts to get up twice, but his skin begins to harden. Eventually, upon standing up, he literally freezes like a stone. Not ice, I mean like a stone. The international community has Japan agree that should Godzilla ever wake up, or unfreeze, then they will have no choice but to use thermonuclear weaponry. While Yaguchi thinks about Japan's future, the scene shifts to Godzilla and then travels up his tail to see what look like several humanoid-looking Godzillas protruding from the end of his tail. End credits. Wow. Everyone, I wouldn't say this for just any movie, but I will for this one. Not only is this my favorite Godzilla movie to date, but it is without a doubt my favorite movie of all time. With the very few exceptions of when it can clearly be seen that it's CGI, I truly believe that this movie is perfect. The acting is perfect. Hiroki Hasegawa, who plays Yaguchi, genuinely seems concerned about the welfare of his nation. The special effects are also on point, and Godzilla has some new tricks up his sleeve. To anyone who has seen my previous Shin Gojira episode, you'll know that I didn't like the idea of his point defense system lasers coming out of his back, but Godzilla, damn it, it was wonderful. The design of Godzilla himself was equally great, although I've always personally loved it. I loved all three of the forms, however, and I actually ended up loving Form B way more than I thought I would. Hideki Anno did an incredible job with directing, and Shiro Sagisu did an amazing job mixing the new Godzilla music and the old Godzilla music. All in all, this is the darkest and most terrifying Godzilla movie up to date, even beating the original in my eyes. Well, that's all for now, guys. I will have a video about what I think of Godzilla's little tail people in the end of the movie in my next Kaiju Theory video. This is Dylan of the Kaiju Vault, signing out.